Blake is divine. Oh my God, he's an absolute beast. Every punch looks like something out of a Hollywood movie. The cheers exploded like fireworks after a swift knockout in the first round. Blake Hunter stood at the center of the ring like a deity born from glory and adrenaline. His right hand raised high, his glove still stained with his opponent's blood. The stage lights hit his glistening physique and razor-sharp face. Phones shot up, cameras beeped, live streams surged. Congratulatory screams pierced the air. Chloe and a group of influencers pressed against the edge of the ring. "Titanium Jim just dropped another banger tonight, you guys," one of them shrieked. A coach nodded approvingly. He could easily qualify for the state team if he wanted to. A fitness model clapped furiously, her face flushed with excitement. And then it happened. In a split second, like a strange wind brushing through the main hall. No loud sound, no special effect, just a slight shift near the entrance, and one by one, every pair of eyes turned away from Blake. One person, then two, then the entire room. Blake's proud smirk turned useless in that instant. He felt it. Undeniably, the gaze that once crowned him was being torn from his head. He turned, brow furrowed, his voice dripping with disdain. "So who just walked in? Some celebrity I forgot to follow." And then he saw her, petite, ordinary. A faded white t-shirt, worn-out shorts, frayed sneakers. No spotlight, no makeup, no entourage. Just her, alone, silent. But somehow every single gaze chose to land on her. And Blake lost it. He burst out laughing, a laugh laced with bitter mockery. "Oh, I get it. Titanium Jim's doing charity today, huh? Letting water delivery girls try on boxing gloves for fun." No one laughed, but he kept going, because he still believed this stage was his, and he was going to knock her down right under the lights, the way he knew best, through humiliation. "You've walked into the wrong place, sweetheart. This is Titanium Club, not a free clinic for the unemployed." Blake sneered as he strode forward each step, deliberate like a runway model in a show reserved for the undefeated. The crowd erupted in laughter. Whispers spread like light jolts of electricity. A model leaned in and murmured to her friend. She probably finished handing out flyers and decided to sneak in a trial workout. Chloe raised her phone, recording every moment. Her voice rose to a shrill pitch, loud enough to drown out all other sounds. "Titanium has a special guest today, a girl cosplaying Rocky with thrift store fashion." The laughter grew louder. A young trainer whistled mockingly, "Is she here to teach senior citizen aerobics?" Another chimed in, mimicking a serious tone. No, that walk says Zumba Pro for sure." In the midst of the mocking storm, Blake came to a halt right in front of her. Towering over Alexis by nearly a head, he leaned in, wearing the face of someone examining an item that just fell out of a donation bin. Ripped Nike sneakers, gloves that scream Goodwill, faded shirt. "Are you sure you're not lost?" He didn't wait for an answer. He didn't need one. He knew the room was listening, waiting for him to deliver the final blow. And he did. Or do you think just wearing old clothes automatically gives you some inspirational backstory to land on a viral reel? That's adorable. The crowd clapped. Not because it was funny, but because they relished the thrill of watching someone get dragged down in front of a crowd without even realizing what hit them. But what unsettled Blake was that she didn't move. She didn't flinch. She didn't blush. She wasn't shaken. She didn't speak. She didn't react. She simply stood there. Her eyes didn't even meet his. But she didn't leave. As if she were waiting for him to finish his little performance. Blake's laughter hadn't even faded when Alexis lifted her head. Her gaze wasn't sharp like a blade. nor fierce like fire. It was cold, still flat, like the surface of a winter lake. She opened her mouth. Her voice was light, almost like wind brushing past the edge of a glove. "I'd like to register for a sparring round. With you." The room froze for exactly 1 second. Then it burst into chaos, like watching a stand-up comedy special. This time the laughter was louder than when Blake had knocked out his last opponent. Someone shouted, "Dear God, does she think this is Netflix?" Madison doubled over laughing. If someone slow-moed this scene, it would go viral, I swear. Blake's jaw dropped. Then he let out a roar of laughter, laughing so hard he had to hold onto the ring post to keep from falling over. He turned to the crowd, waving like a show host about to open a live broadcast. "Ladies and gentlemen, today we are witnessing a miracle. The Flyer Girl wants to get in the ring and fight me." The crowd clapped again. Phones were already up, cameras rolling. A few trainers shook their heads and scoffed. A model pointed at Alexis and mimicked her in a shrill, mocking voice, "I want to spar with you." And then right at that moment, Alexis took a step forward. Her eyes locked onto Blake's. Her hand tightened around the wrap on her glove, as if she were tying up the last fraying strand of the room's tolerance. And she said every word, calm and clear. "Are you scared?" 3 words, no raised voice, no rage, but it felt like someone had poured ice water over every ego that had been laughing seconds ago. Blake stopped laughing. Madison stopped recording. No one had expected her to challenge him. No one had imagined anyone daring to ask Blake Hunter that question. And the worst part was, no one could say for sure that he wasn't afraid. Blake threw his head back in laughter, as if someone had just handed him another trophy. He waved dramatically, summoning the crowd like a performer basking in the spotlight, his voice laced with challenge. 1 round. 3 minutes. No insurance. No tears, princess. Then he turned to the sparring area coach and jerked his chin. "Put her name down. Just for kicks." Madison adjusted her camera angle, squealing, "Oh my God, this live stream's going straight to the top of the trending chart." Behind them, a few trainers clapped and shouted, "Blake versus girl next door, let's go." And again, laughter crashed like waves against stone. The crowd was buzzing like they were about to witness some bizarre piece of theater directed by collective arrogance. Alexis said nothing. She simply nodded, then stepped onto the ring as if she knew every wooden board beneath her feet. Her worn-out sneakers made no sound, but no one looked away. Blake followed, bouncing on his heels, warming up like he was filming a backstage TikTok. His glossy red gloves carved arcs through the air muscles, flexing beneath the lights. The referee counted down. 3, 2, 1. The bell rang. Blake charged like a storm, opening jab, crushing cross, a sharp, low hook like a choreographed showcase. But Alexis didn't block. She didn't defend like a beginner. She just stepped back. Half a beat, shifted angle, just a pivot, slid sideways like the wind. Blake's punches hit nothing but air. 1, 2, 3. No one noticed anything wrong. Everyone was still waiting for her to fall. But then, in a distant corner, stood a coach named Marcus. Arms folded, head tilted. He narrowed his eyes, barely, and murmured the first words that cracked the rhythm of laughter. "Wait a second. That's not reflex dodging. She's reading every move." But his voice was swallowed by the cheers of a crowd still waiting for the fall. They didn't realize that they were the ones about to fall off the high horse of arrogance they had been sitting on for far too long. Blake was starting to breathe heavily, not from exhaustion, but confusion. 30 seconds had passed, and he still hadn't landed a single touch on the woman he thought he'd drop in half a beat. He sped up, each strike heavier than the last, his fists slashing through the air like he could crush oxygen itself, if not her body. But Alexis didn't react like someone being cornered. She slid, tilted, pivoted, each subtle motion shaved fractions of seconds off the clock, dissolving Blake's entire combo into thin air. Madison was still live streaming, but the audio had changed. It wasn't laughter anymore. There was doubt. Wait. How is she dodging without even stumbling? Someone whispered, I haven't seen her flinch, not even once. Marcus had stepped away from the wall, now closer, eyes locked on every footstep she took. He muttered through clenched teeth, She's not some random amateur. That's trained. That's elite. Blake growled in frustration, refusing to accept that he was being outclassed on his own stage. He lunged forward with a picture-perfect uppercut, the kind that had once sent opponents to stretchers and made highlight reels explode. But he didn't see it. He had opened his entire right flank. Alexis saw it. Her eyes flickered with a cold, metallic gleam. She didn't dodge. She didn't back down. She rotated her hips. A small motion. Subtle, but it shifted her entire weight into one devastating punch from her right hand, rising diagonally into the liver. A textbook liver hook, perfect in form, final in impact, like a sentence being passed. No one saw it clearly. They only heard it. A dull, dry thud, no echo, no drama. But it sucked the breath from the entire gym. Blake froze. His whole body paused, like someone had pressed stop, eyes bulging, mouth open, no sound. And then his knees buckled. His arms clutched his side. His face turned pale, as if something inside had cinched shut. He fell, not from imbalance, but because his nervous system had decided it couldn't take any more, and the gym, once bursting with laughter, jeers, cameras, and cheers, fell silent, like a cathedral, because everyone there understood. What just happened wasn't luck. It was a warning, and they were the ones being warned. Blake lay curled up against the rope's arms, clutching his abdomen, face pale and speechless. No one stepped forward to help him. No pats on the back. No one asked, "Are you okay?" Everyone stood frozen, held in place by an invisible rope called humiliation. Those who laughed the loudest now could only exchange glances, eyes locked on Alexis, the small woman still standing there. Not panting, not raising her arms in victory, not showing even a hint of gloating. She didn't look at Blake. She didn't look at anyone. She stood there as if none of it had ever really mattered. And then the door opened. The sound was small, but in a room thick as lead, it echoed like a war drum. A man walked in. Faded coach's jacket, gray streaks in his hair, eyes deep enough to have seen too much to ever be surprised again. No introduction needed. Anyone who'd spent time at Titanium Gym knew who he was. Coach Lawrence, a living legend, former head coach of the national team. The kind of man whose glance alone could tell who was faking and who was the real deal. He walked slowly toward the ring, eyes fixed only on Alexis. And then he chuckled, not loud, but deep, grounded, steady. And it silenced the entire room. "I knew it was you," he said. Not loud, but it pierced through everyone like a blade of truth. Alexis Carter, the Viper. Whispers began bubbling through the crowd, like a wave crashing onto shore. Someone from the PT group blurted, "What? The Viper?" Lawrence nodded his gaze, never leaving the woman in the ring. Three-time Northeast lightweight champion. Undefeated. Never knocked down. Then a torn ACL. Vanished from the scene. No one saw her again. He turned around, sweeping the room with his eyes. "And today, you laughed at her. You called her a trash picker. A joke." When in truth, if she had been even 1 second more serious, that hook you just saw wouldn't have just folded Blake's stomach. It could have stopped his heart. A young trainer swallowed hard. A model stepped back half a pace. Madison lowered her camera face drained of color. No one spoke. No one knew how to stand in a way that didn't scream shame. And Alexis. She gently unfastened her gloves. Each Velcro tear echoed like a blade, scraping across the pride of everyone who had ever laughed. Blake sat slumped against the ropes, cold sweat trailing down his temple, his eyes vacant and lost. No one rushed to help him up. No one called his name like they used to. Even Madison stayed silent, her hand clutching the phone tightly, too shaken to record a single second more. A coach whispered, "That hook, if it had landed just a little higher, he might not have gotten back up." Coach Lawrence stood with arms crossed, still watching Alexis. He said softly, "If she'd meant it, that was her being kind." And right then, Alexis took off her gloves. Not slowly, not dramatically, just like it was muscle memory. The Velcro ripping cut through the room like it was tearing the masks off everyone present. She slung her bag over her shoulder. Didn't look at Blake. Didn't glance at the crowd. Didn't wait for an apology. Didn't crave applause. She just stepped off the ring. Every step she took made people step back, not out of fear, but out of shame. And just as she reached the door, she stopped, turned her head toward a phone that was still recording. Her gaze held no anger, no resentment, only a stillness so cold it made the room shiver. "I don't need anyone to remember my name," she said. "I just need them to remember one thing. Never judge a woman by the wear on her shoes." Then she turned away, decisively. The door clicked shut behind her, soft as a whisper, but it landed like a slap across every ounce of pride left in the room. 3 days later, the honor board at Titanium Club was taken down. No announcement, no farewell ceremony, no one speaking in defense. The photo of Blake Hunter, the man once hailed as the face of Titanium, was replaced by a blank frame. No name, no image, just a single line written in black ink: "Respect every opponent, because some punches don't need speed, just the right moment." The video of Alexis versus Blake continued to spread like wildfire in the dry season. But strangely, no one edited it. No one added music, no effects, no trendy captions. People shared it raw, uncut, with real sound, real expressions, real silence, like a ritual of repentance. One comment read, "I didn't share this because it was funny. I shared it because I was one of the people who laughed." Another wrote, "That hook didn't just hit Blake's liver. It struck our habit of judging people by their shoes, gloves, and looks." And then change began. At Titanium, the mocking laughter vanished from the registration desk. No more whispers when someone walked in, wearing old workout clothes. A trainer who once mocked Alexis quietly shut his camera when a newcomer entered. TikTok drills lost their audience. Performative applause fell silent. People started really seeing one another. Less judgment, less performance, and whenever someone asked why the gym felt different now, all anyone had to do was point to that empty frame, the one that used to belong to Blake Hunter. As for Alexis, she never came back. No social handles, no interviews, not even a single post. But no one forgot her final glance before she walked out that door. It wasn't a look that demanded justice, nor one that sought an apology. It was the look of someone who knew exactly who she was and didn't need to prove it anymore. She walked away, old shoes still squeaking softly with every step, frayed canvas bag slung off one shoulder. No one stopped her. No one dared call after her. And from that day on, the name Alexis Carter. The Viper was only ever spoken in a low, reverent voice, like reciting a lesson that must never be forgotten. The Titanium Club still opened its doors every day. But it was no longer a place for those who believed appearance equaled greatness. Now it was a place where anyone, no matter what they wore or carried, if they entered with silence and steel in their eyes, people would step back and make way, because everyone remembered a woman once came here. No name, no profile, no followers. She only needed 3 minutes, one punch, and an entire empire of arrogance collapsed. Sometimes the one who's mocked the most is the one who makes the whole room fall silent. And there are punches that don't strike the body but land straight on the heart of our arrogance. If you've ever been underestimated, ever been misjudged, remember Alexis Carter. She didn't need anyone to take her side, because in the end, truth always stands with those who never give up. Like this video if you believe in the power of quiet strength. Subscribe to Toch Story so you never miss a story that helps you believe more in yourself.